Starts right now.
Get dressed.
President-elect Donald Trump revealing another cabinet member at an event last night.
The latest appointment comes as Washington reacts to the official nomination of RFK Jr. as HHS Secretary.
Bill Malugin is in West Palm Beach, Florida. Bill.
Yeah, Brian, good morning to you. Trump is really starting to go rapid fire with these announcements for his administration. He made 7 of these picks yesterday alone, the last of which happened right here in Florida last night regarding North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Take a listen.
I won't tell you the name of his, the exact name. I think he's an incredible person. Might be something like Burgum. He's from North Dakota. He's going to be announced tomorrow for a very big position. He's going to head the Department of Interior, and he's going to be fantastic.
Now, the biggest headline of the day yesterday was Trump's announcement that he is nominating RFK Jr. to be his HHS secretary. Some Democrats have already come out in opposition to that, with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries saying he is not impressed with that pick. Take a listen.
Is this America's very best? Is this the best that America has to offer to safeguard the health and well-being of the American people? Of course it's not. And that's problematic, and it's an unfortunate sign, perhaps, of what's to come.
And Trump made a handful of other nominations yesterday. Some of those include former Congressman Doug Collins, who Trump is tapping to lead the Department of Veterans Affairs. He's also announcing he wants Todd Blanche as his Deputy Attorney General. Blanche, of course, defended Trump during his New York hush money trial. Meanwhile, incoming GOP Senate Majority Leader John Thune says they're going to look at every option to get these picks through as fast as possible for President Trump. Take a listen.
I think we have to have all the options on the table, and these nominees deserve their day in court. We are not going to allow the Democrats to thwart the will of the American people in giving President Trump the people that he wants in those positions to implement his agenda.
And during his interview with our colleague Brett Baer, Senator Thune confirmed that one of the options on the table that they could potentially look at are recess appointments, which would be a way to skip over the Senate confirmation process. We'll send it back to you guys.
Well, that would certainly create some drama. Thanks so much, Bill.
All options are on the table, though.
Right. To me, RFK is emblematic of exactly what Donald Trump wants to do. He wants to disrupt the system. And I think that we all became a little bit more cognizant of what's going on with Health and Human Services during the pandemic, and it brought a lot of scrutiny, and it brought RFK forward. He was talking about the vaccines. He was talking about health. He was talking about what was in our food. And then we find Dr. McCary writes an incredible book about it, and then Kelly and Casey Means write a book about it, and you see Joe Rogan talking about it, and we just were exposed to maybe our companies coming together to put together Frankenstein food, really since the 70s, they're getting us chronically sick. I did not know this, but up until the birth control pill, most people were not on daily medication until the birth control pill. And now where everyone's on everything that you talk to. I mean, you see the list, if you go to the doctor, what medications are you on? Most people are checking every box.
Yeah.
What's his resume, Ainsley?
So he's done a lot. He's very impressive. He founded Waterkeeper Alliance, which is the world's largest clean water advocacy group. He founded Children's Health Defense to address childhood chronic disease, named Time Magazine's Hero for the Planet. He attended Harvard, the London School of Economics, University UVA Law School, Pace University School of Law. And then in 2008, Barack Obama considered him to run the EPA. He didn't get that job, but he was definitely on the short list.
So he has a lot of stuff that he wants to do. I guess the main takeaway is, and I've noticed this about a lot of the cabinet members, where you have this outrage. The president-elect campaigned on this. We knew RFK was going to be somewhere in the administration. We know the exact position, but he campaigned on letting RFK go crazy when it comes to health and what's going to be for our children and changing the way that we do food. So I don't understand the backlash from people so astonished that Donald Trump picked him for this position. The last thing I would say is Hakeem Jeffries' statement about, is this our very best? Have you seen the current administration? Have you seen Kamala Harris? Is that our, oh my God, Pete Buttigieg, is this our our very best right now. So the audacity of him to criticize this administration right now before they even do one thing.
Well,
The New York Post lead editorial is against RFK. They said they interviewed him. They didn't like a lot of his answers. So it just goes to show you what a wide swath it is, people against him. So the New York Post is against him. But the governor of Colorado isn't, Jared Polis. He says, I'm excited by the news. Yeah, Democrat, that the president-elect will appoint Robert Kennedy Jr., HHS secretary. So he goes on to sing his praises. So it goes across the board. You got to do your own research.
when RFK was sitting here, he said, when my uncle was president, 6% of Americans had chronic disease. Now it's 60% of Americans. And he said, we have the sickest children in the world. 1 in 3 children is a diabetic or pre-diabetic. And he gave examples. We talked about the McDonald's thing. He said in England, there are 3 ingredients in your McDonald's French fries. It's potatoes, tallow fat, and salt. In ours, 17 ingredients, and he says not one of them is healthy for you because of the way they cook it. He said he's not against fast food. He just wants to improve our fast food and go back to the way it used to be when we didn't have all of these dyes. He wants to take all the dyes out of our cereals. He said they're loaded with chemicals and carcinogens. And he said you can't afford to eat bad food or you're going to pay for it later on.
So Jillian Michaels was on with Jesse 2 nights in a row, I think, and commented on this nomination. Watch.
It's this collaboration of this toxic quartet, if you will, of the way big farming proliferates these cheap, toxic calories. Big food picks up those calories, and they tinker with it a bit more with their food scientists to make it more addictive, to make it omnipresent. Then Big Pharma catches us on the other side and starts treating all of our sicknesses with all their diseases. And we won't even touch on big insurance and how they play a role because there isn't enough time. But the bottom line is, look at the world. It's this simple. What they're doing isn't working, and it's not working on purpose because it's profitable for the very few. And it's bankrupting Americans. It's the #1 cause of bankruptcy is a health-related condition, and it's killing them. If you're afraid of RFK, you've lost your mind. Take a back seat, let the professionals in this space handle it, and thank God when it starts improving. Period.
The last thing I would say on these nominations, let the hearings take place. Let the debate take place, and then make a decision after that. But we have name calling of people before the hearing even starts. I mean, our former colleague, Pete Hicks, I watched on CNN, calling him a white supremacist based on a tattoo that he has that literally says God's will. So, I mean, I just find it, despicable before these folks get to go out there and present their case that people are already name calling. We know he's not a white supremacist, by the way.
Well, and also fights in wars, and I'm sure we're going to be talking to him soon about this. He's going to be front and center, and good luck trying to out-talk him or outspeak him. You know what? He knows how to handle himself, and you're about to find that out. For the first time last night, we had a chance to hear the president at length talk about his remarkable victory. Not only his winning the electoral vote overwhelmingly every battleground state, gaining in every single state, even states he didn't win, 49 out of 50, and also with Hispanics, with blacks, all minority groups, Asians, and it's just so comprehensive, and he just looks so comfortable and reflective and grateful. And then another celebrity walked up and said, by the way, this has been my guy all along. Here's Sylvester Stallone.
We are in the presence of a really mythical character. I love mythology. And this individual does not exist on this planet. Nobody in the world could have pulled off what he pulled off, so I'm in awe. And I'll just say this, and I mean it. When George Washington defended his country, he had no idea that he was going to change the world. Because without him, you can imagine what the world would look like. Guess what? We got the second George Washington. Congratulations.
And he did a beautiful job.
He did a beautiful job. That's really cool. What were you thinking when you saw that? Because you love Rocky.
I knew that he was for Trump. I just didn't know he was. I didn't know he was going to go public like that. I think a couple of things. I think more and more Hollywood people just coming out and saying it. I don't like this political correctness. I don't like what it's done to the business. I don't like what it's done to every single script. I don't like what it does with education. And it wasn't conservative. It was common sense. He kept saying that. And I'll add one more thing. Other leaders were there. The first leader to show up and graduate in person is Javier Milei of Argentina. He is the Trump of Argentina. Bolsonaro was the Trump of Brazil, who's working his way back to Brazil. Yeah. So that the outlier is becoming the mainstreamer.
I'm curious, Brian, the comparison to George Washington as our history guy. What would you say to that?
More Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay.
Teddy Roosevelt came in and said these corporations are too big. I'm a rich guy, but I'm for the little guy. And he was a Republican that kind of disrupted. He was a progressive Republican in many ways, and a lot of Republicans to this day don't love him. So I look at him more as Teddy Roosevelt came in, and Teddy Roosevelt was our first celebrity president. He was bigger than life. He was a war hero. He changed the way our bureaucracies, governor of New York, a disruptor. They tried to sideline by making him vice president, where you go where careers go to die. But when McKinley gets shot, this young guy becomes president, and he changed everything. And then he tried to run as a third party after losing, but was unable to pull it off, but did get more votes than the Republican. But it gave us Woodrow Wilson, which many people feel was a huge
what we heard
problem.
What we heard when we were at the diners and talking to voters was the economy.
So
and
often.
Couldn't afford food. He went into the grocery store. He gave that mom a $100 bill, and it cut down her costs, obviously. And we interviewed her. But Donald Trump was sharing a story about, I think she was an older woman, and she couldn't afford the apples, 3 apples. And we've heard him talk about that story. He talked about it yesterday. Listen to this.
The groceries are too high. And when you think about it, that's a very bad thing. And I talked about that a lot in the last couple of weeks, and it resonated. I tell a story about a woman. She got 3 apples, an old woman. She had 3 apples, and she brought them up to the cash register, and she looked at the woman, and she said, "Is that the right price?" And the woman said, "Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Yes, it is." And she said, "Oh, that's okay. Could you wait 1 minute?" And she took one of the 3 apples, and she brought it back to the refrigeration, and she came back gently up to the cash register, and she paid for 2 apples instead of 3. That should not be happening in our country. That should not be happening here. It's not going to happen here. We're going to make it a much different place. We're going to slash energy costs. We're going to get your energy bills in half, and that's going to bring down the cost, generally speaking.
You know, I'll just say this. There's all this talk about the Democratic Party doing some type of report to figure out what went wrong. I mean, it's not rocket science. Why is the billionaire being more relatable, telling the American people stories right now, and the Democratic Party, who was supposed to be the party of the working class, they didn't tell those stories. They didn't say people were struggling.
No, what they would have said was it a he or a him? What pronoun did you want to be recognized as?
It's so, I mean, they're making this more complicated than it really is. We've been telling these stories for years now, and people made fun of our reports when we were going to diners and barbershops to tell these stories.
The barbershops, that's really when I realized, wow, that, you know, 1/4 of the black men voted for Donald Trump.
Incredible.
And you said they all want to provide food for their family. They want more money in they want to take home more of their paycheck and not give it back to the government or have to pay so much at the grocery store. That was the issue. And that's when I felt like he was going to win.
You saw the tide change.
And I'll add one more thing. David Brooks writes about in the New York Times. What everyone missed? People are tired of being divided up on the ethnicities. Oh, blacks like this, Asians like this, men like this, gays like this.
Let's just
and
be
they think they could define people on civil rights movements. When people just want to be defined as Americans. And we're done with the labels. Working class, middle class.
Well, we saw all the people that were allegedly the leaders within each communities were being paid, or the production companies were being paid. So we're smarter than that. The voters rejected that, and now the president-elect has a shot to make good on his promises.
In total transparency, we are being paid. We are. I'm just making sure people know.
Just not by a campaign.
That's true. To a Fox News alert. In less than 2 hours, the trial for the illegal immigrant accused of killing nursing student Laken Riley begins in Georgia.
So his fate is set to be decided by a judge.
And Chanley Painter joins us with a preview of what will happen this morning. Hey, Chanley.
Hey, good morning, guys. So the fate of 26-year-old undocumented Venezuelan man Jose Ibarra now solely in the hands of a judge after waiving his right to a jury trial earlier this week. Today, the family of 22-year-old Laken Riley is expected to fill the gallery of the courtroom as prosecutors begin presenting evidence of how the nursing student was viciously attacked while out on a run the morning of February 22nd, 2023. The defendant, Jose Ibarra, has pleaded not guilty to 10 counts, including malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping, aggravated assault with intent to rape, among other charges, in an indictment that accuses him of hindering Riley's attempts to call 911 and concealing a jacket and gloves smeared with blood near the apartment where he lived with his brothers and a roommate, all of whom were in the country illegally at the time. And get this, the judge has ruled those men be present at this trial as possible witnesses. Also, the judge has denied the defense's motions to change venue and suppress evidence, including DNA and cell phone data. The judge has also denied the defense's motion to sever the Peeping Tom charge against Ibarra that prosecutors say occurred on the same day with another woman. Ibarra illegally crossed into our country in 2022, but was released into the U.S. via parole. Since then, he has been cited for shoplifting in Georgia and charged with child endangerment in New York. If the judge finds him guilty in this trial, Ibarra faces life without parole. Guys.
Right. And if there's anybody deserves, thank you so much, Chanley. If anybody deserves the death penalty, it's him. But unfortunately, we're probably going to be looking at maximum just life in prison. He came here to commit crimes. His brother's also seemingly a despicable guy just like him, and just targeting Laken Riley. And there you see him.
They're trying every legal maneuver, trying to get the DNA thrown out, which is essential. The fact that there were cell phone records that showed that he was right there in that location. I mean, he's as good as done. And the judge was definitely going to decide his fate, Ainsley.
My gosh. When you look at him, I'm like, how could he have done that? How could he do what he did to a young woman who was just jogging on her campus? He lived in an apartment complex right on the edge of the park that was affiliated with the school where she was attending. It's just that whole... how can someone take the life of someone? And in such a brutal way.
Not everyone that's coming to this country wants a fresh start.
Right.
And wants to work. I don't care what they tell you. There's plenty of people that mean us harm. And there was a guy that came down an escalator in 2015 and told us that and was demonized. But the country has changed on this issue.
And I think that all these cities that are pushing back against Trump are going to fight back against getting rid of the sanctuary city status. You have to come back at these officials with pictures of Laken Riley and Rachel Morin, and you see what they went through, how they died, and just say, do you want that on your head in the city? And that's why Tom Homan's going to be going around with sheriffs around the bend. You can't get into prisons to get these people before they strike again. You can't stop them at the border.
A lot of people in Athens did not realize they lived in a sanctuary city.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. I didn't either.
Yeah.
You expected in Chicago.
Like
and
you think
New York.
Texas, but look at Austin.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right. Meanwhile, 18 minutes now after the hour. Carly Shimkus, you have other news.
I certainly do. Yeah, we got some news to get to overseas. A fight breaking out at an Israel-France soccer match in Paris. And the Israeli national anthem was booed when it played in the stadium. This as Israeli fans returned to Europe despite widespread anti-Israel attacks against fans in Amsterdam last week. Thousands of extra officers were assigned to the game, and it only took about a minute for security to step in and break up the fight. But outside the stadium, anti-Israel protesters filled the streets to protest the match. The RNC filing 2 lawsuits in Pennsylvania to stop undated mail ballots from being counted after the state's Senate race triggered a recount. Bob Casey has refused to concede even after the race was called, with Senator-elect Dave McCormick up over 26,000 votes. And in Iowa, Congresswoman Mariannette Miller Meeks' Democrat opponent is requesting a recount. The Republican Congresswoman is up by less than 1,000 votes, but she has declared victory, despite that race not yet being called. Regardless of that race's outcome, though, Republicans have retained control of the House. The Chicago Tribune editorial board is calling out Oprah after her production company reportedly accepted $1 million from the Harris campaign after she hosted a star-studded campaign event for Harris. The board says those production fees should have been a campaign donation. Oprah has denied accepting the money as a personal fee. And It is beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Check out this great video here. That is Santa Claus arriving by boat yesterday to greet children at a German post office. There, he began his first day of answering thousands of letters from kids across the globe and even delivering some gifts. It's a nearly 40-year tradition for the small German town. Last year, St. Nick and 20 helpers responded to 3,000 letters. He is a busy guy. This is his busy season, guys.
Right, and it's Germany where Santa Claus started.
That's right. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
You took German.
Right.
You should know.
I'm one of those people. I've adopted as my second homeland.
I'm one of the people. I mean, he just claims everything.
Right.
Every story, every
If you're German out there and want to claim me, I'm claimable.
Okay, I'll claim you. My last name's Earhart.
Oh, that's it. You outdo me. Quick thing. Yesterday, we talked about being invited to inaugural balls. I got invited to the Texas ball by Congressman Pfluger yesterday, and they told me to tell Lawrence I get to go to a ball.
I will be there with you.
All right, and I'm taking Chris Chulo.
Wait, do you have an invite yet?
Right.
Not yet, but I think it's customary that you invite the Texan on the couch.
You're right. I'll +1. Chris, you're out. All right. So let's talk about what we did last night. We saw the premiere of a fantastic series on Fox Nation. Pictures
Stay
of
for
you
a
guys.
second.
Right.
I believe we do.
Yeah. I didn't have a chance to do this, but you guys did this.
Do we have
have
the
some
photos?
pictures.
So while they're grabbing that, if you want to come to the Fox
there's
Square,
Ainsley.
it's from 10:30 to 7.
Jonah Ainsley.
I'm so far from a saint, but okay.
Right. Let's hear
There's
more.
Lawrence.
Look at
music
that
for
Very
Lawrence.
serious.
Look at that bone structure.
Can we get music for Lawrence too, please? Thank you. So you could come by and get that.
You too can be a saint,
Unfortunately,
Brian.
they asked me to leave when
It's
I wanted to
starting
get my
at
same
10:30 today, right? All the way to 7 p.m. if you want to get your photo taken.
Yeah, you are going to love this series. I know you think you know this, even if you are a biblical scholar. You don't know it the way they're going to tell it.
Sunday. Go to
I didn't
Fox
know
Nation.
everything about Joan of Arc's life and died she sacrificed everything and was killed at the stake.
You hate to give
Fire.
away the ending. She does die.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think
what's
everyone
left
knows
is
it.
the story. All right, more Fox and Friends in a moment. I will be meeting with Chinese President Xi tomorrow during an international summit over in Peru. The meeting comes as we expect a crackdown on China under President-elect Trump. Just this week, he tapped Mike Waltz, also Marco Rubio for his administration. Two lawmakers noted for being tough on that communist nation, see them as the #1 threat we've ever faced, including our next guest, retired four-star General Jack Keane, chairman of the Institute of Study of War. Do you like the selections of Waltz and Rubio, knowing seemingly to understand the dangers of China, General?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have a lot of experience here. They're going to be a major assistance to the president in dealing with this issue. Look at what's on the table as the president comes back. Number one is China is outpacing our United States military in terms of its capabilities, excuse me. And the reality is they've been investing for 20 years, and they are the pacing challenge of this current administration. But the reality is China is outpacing us. So that's a fact. We got to fix the military erosion that's taken place. The last 4 budgets in terms of defense have been flat. That makes no sense given the threats that we're facing. So we got to rebuild the military. Economically, I mean, China now has a $1 trillion surplus dealing with the United States. That means exports over imports. That's considerably larger than what it was during the Trump administration. And he knows full well that China reneged on the economic deal he made with them, where they were going to purchase $200 billion worth of U.S. imports. Didn't do that. Did some of it, but not all of it. And China is conducting the largest penetration of American society in the history of the country, mostly using cyber espionage. He'll get all the detailed classified briefings on that and see what has happened in the 4 years since he left the White House, which is formidable. And he's likely, as announced, going to take some pretty strong economic action against China.
So I wonder if President Trump gave a message to Joe Biden as he goes out the door, meeting with President Xi, just to show you how up with the times you are. First story of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal today, President Xi enforcers revving up China's spy machine and alarming the West. They're trying to infiltrate in every way. We have to sober up to that. Just to give you an idea to back up what your statement is in hard numbers, China in 2015 had 255 ships. We had 271. In 2020, it was 360 for them, 296 for us. In 2025, 400 to 286. We are way too slow in building ships, too. General, can I have you pivot over to Ukraine? It looks like Russia is trying to get as much land as possible before Trump takes over. They've taken 200 square miles over the last month, but they've suffered record high casualties of over 1,200, maybe 1,500 a day in October. What do you see what is happening on the ground in Ukraine?
Yeah, well, Russia is certainly conducting a very grinding operation in the south and east to really consolidate the whole Donbass region. They're making slow progress, but nonetheless, progress. And yes, in October, 57,000 casualties. They average about 30,000 a month, which is absolutely staggering. And that's why certainly they welcome the 10,000 or so North Koreans, and I think they would like them to be coming at that rate every single month. We'll see if that really is a pipeline or it's just a one-off. But no, Russia certainly has its challenges despite its tactical advances that they're making. But they're a much larger country than Ukraine, Brian, and they can tap into people, and they're buying conscriptions. They are incentivizing people to come into the military by providing them financial bonuses. And and to keep the casualty resistance down by the Russian people, if a Russian soldier is killed, they receive the equivalent of $150,000 as a death benefit, which exceeds what that soldier would make as a civilian in their society for an entire year, for sure. So it is very significant what is happening there in terms of Putin recognizing he has a manpower problem because of the casualties, and he's trying to deal with. But he's got a bigger reservoir of resources than certainly what Ukraine has.
150 million people as opposed to 25 or 30 million. Also, keep in mind, we have not been enforcing the sanctions. Hopefully, Trump will realize that, and we cannot let the Ukrainians lose there. General Jack Keane, thanks so much for the latest. The Institute of Study of War really gives you an idea what's happening over there. Thanks so much, General.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. You and the team have a great weekend.
Absolutely. And speaking of the weekend, coming up at 9 o'clock, One Nation, do not miss it. Jim Jordan and Newt Gingrich going to be putting in perspective the president's win and what the agenda should be. What's wrong with the Democrats? What's with paying these celebrities? Mark Penn and Mike LaRosa, former chief of staff for Jill Biden, will be with us, too. Carly Shimkus will be joining me, breaking down the media moments that matter. It's 9 o'clock on Saturday night. Please join me then. I won't wear a tie. Promise. Tennessee seeing a surge of Venezuelan gang activity across the state. The officials sounding the alarm next.
They are running human trafficking operations. They will get engaged in organized retail theft. The next step that they move into is the drug trade.
The Daniel Penny manslaughter trial resumes this morning after jurors were able to see the video of Penny being interrogated by police and heard testimony from a fellow Marine veteran.
Todd Pyro has the story. Hey, Todd.
Good morning to all of you. Daniel Penny is going to be back in court at 10 a.m. Joseph Caballer, a retired Marine sergeant who served with Penny and taught him martial arts, took the stand yesterday and explained different chokehold techniques. He says Marines are taught to use what is called a blood choke, which cuts off blood flow to the brain within 13 seconds and causes an opponent to lose consciousness. Once that happens, they are supposed to stop applying pressure or it can cause injury or death. When the defense asked if Penny appeared to be applying the chokehold fully for Neely to go unconscious, he responded, "Not from what I can see." Jurors were also shown the video of Penny being interrogated by police just hours after the chokehold death. At the time, Penny did not seem to know yet that Jordan Neely had died. Watch.
I'm not trying to kill the guy. Right. I'm just trying to de-escalate the situation, right? And I'm not out here trying to attack people. I just felt the need that this guy was saying that he's going to kill people, that he was prepared to go to jail for life. I'm just trying to keep him from hurting anybody else. He's threatening people.
The Marine veteran faces 19 years in prison. If convicted, he has pleaded not guilty. Lawrence, back over to you.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay.
So, Tennessee law enforcement warning that the violent Venezuelan gang Trinidad de Agua is now operating in every major city in the state. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Rausch has been warning local leaders about the growing threat and joins us now. Sir, thanks so much for joining the program.
Thank you, Lawrence.
So, what's the big issue as it relates to your law enforcement capabilities? Is the current federal detainers and all that preventing you from doing your job? Give us the scope.
No, I don't think it's any of that. I think what we have is, unfortunately, because of the porous border, this gang has exploited it, and they are actively working throughout our country. And we know, because of our investigations, they are actively working in Tennessee. They are in our 4 major cities, Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville, and Chattanooga, and they are running human trafficking operations right now. We first noticed them about 2 years ago during a trafficking operation in Middle Tennessee. And we thought, after we had captured a few of them, we knew some of them had fled. We thought that they would move out of Tennessee, but they have moved back. And we are aware now, after some meetings this past month, we're aware that they are moving into different operations. They go from human trafficking to organized retail crime theft, and then they move into the drug trade, taking on the cartels in a very violent, bloody battles that they've had. And they also have zero respect for policing. They have attacked law enforcement officers throughout our nation.
So, sir, what do you charge them with? You see that these folks may be allegedly a part of Trinidad de Agua. If you haven't witnessed them committing a crime right now because of the current administration.
Christ Army TV ኢትዮጵያን ይመልከቱ።
ሰማኛለህ አንድ ነገር ልንገርህ እኔ ማለት ነው አንተ እዚህ ምድር ላይ ወጣቶች ላይ ተነሳሁ ንገረኝ እስኪ
ምን እንድትሆን ነው የምፈልገው እሷ
ለኔ ዘፍና እንዳፈምሳት ቲክቶክ ጀመረችና ማለት ነው በዘፈን መስራት ጀምራ ቫይራል እያስወጣው ልክ የቻርች መዝሙር ስትለቅ ጥፍት አያይም ሰው ሶሻል ሚዲያውን ተቆጣጥሬ አንተን ተቀባይነት እንዳታገኝ ለማድረግ አንተን ለመንቀፍ
እኔ ሶሻል ሚዲያ በአለም ያለው ሁሉ ሰብስቤ ጫማዬ በታች ረግጠዋል።
ሁላጋይስ እናንተ ራሱ ስጠላችሁ ክላሲካላችሁ ሲያስጠላኝ የልብ ህመም እያስመሰልኩ በየትምህርት ቤቱ
እስኪ አንድ ጊዜ ሁላጋይስ ባንዶች ተሰብስቡና Etes welcome waran baswa getiti wotes otes olare ban welka gujes baba odia gesa klisano ara ekdi palles
ሰማኛለህ አንድ ነገር ልንገርህ እኔ ማለት ነው አንተ እዚህ ምድር ላይ ለወጣቶች ላይ ተነሳሁ ንገረኝ እስኪ ድምጿ ያምራል ትዘምራለች ትምህርት ቤት እዩ ጴንጤዎች ሆነው እንኳን እዩን አንወድም ይላሉ እሷ የስልኳ ስክሪን ሴቨር አድርጋ አንተን ፎቶ በየሄደችበት ሁሉ የነናኦምን ምስክርነት አይታ ባለፈው የእነሱን ምስክርነት አይታ ወጣቶችን እንዴት እንያዝ እፈልጋታለሁ እሷ ለኔ ስትዘፍን ያምርባታል
ስትዘፍን
እዩ መድረክ ላይ ዘምራለሁ ትላለች እንዴ
ምን እንድትሆን ነው የምፈልገው እሷ
እኔ የምፈልገው ከለቀኳት የቤተሰቦቿ በረከት ይለቀቃል
እና እሷ ምን እንድትሰራ ነው የምትፈልገው
እኔ የምፈልጋትማ ለኔ ዘፍና እንዳፈምሳት ቲክቶክ ጀመረችና ማለት ነው በዘፈን መስራት ጀምራ ቫይራል እያስወጣው በደንብ እያሰራው ልክ የቻርች መዝሙር ስትለቅ ጥፍት አያይም ሰው ባቷ ደግሞ በጣም ይወዳል እኔ ደግሞ የምፈልገው ማንም እንዳይወድህ ሶሻል ሚዲያውን ተቆጣጥሬ አንተን ተቀባይነት እንዳታገኝ ለማድረግ አንተን ለመንቀፍ ስለኛለህ እኔን እገልሃለሁ ገና
እኔ ሶሻል ሚዲያ በአለም ያለው ሁሉ ሰብስቤ ጫማዬ በታች ረግጠዋል ለዚህ አጋንንትም ለፓርትነሮቹም ሁሉ እናገራለሁ እኔ ውስጥ ያለው ቅባት ከሶሻል ሚዲያ አቅም በላይ ነው
ሁላጋይስ እናንተ ራሱ ስጠላችሁ ክላሲካላችሁ ሲያስጠላኝ አልወዳችሁም አይገባትም እኮ ሽምድድ አድርጋ ይዛ አንድ ቀን ጌታ ሆይ ከሱ ጋር ዘምራለሁ ትላለች እገላታለሁ ይሄን ዓመት አታልፋትም የልብ ህመም እያስመሰልኩ በየትምህርት ቤቱ
እስኪ አንድ ጊዜ ሆላጋይዝ ባንዶች ተሰብስቡና ላየቴስ ወልቀምስ ወራነ ባስዋቄት ዲወትስ ኦቴስ ኦላሬምባን ወልቃ ጉጅስ በባውዲያ ጌታ ክልስ አሏራ እክዲ ፓልስ ቱማ ኤቴስ ወልቀምስ ወራነ ባስዋቄት ዲወትስ ኦቴስ ኦላሬምባን ወልቃ ጉጅስ በባውዲያ ጌታ ቦላስ አሏራ እክዲ ፓልስ Hola gaisola, hola gaisola. La hola gaisola, hola gaisola.
አንድ ሺህ ወጣቶችን እሰጣለሁ እሷን ተውልኝ ልጅቷ ታስፈራለች እንዲሁ ለምንድነው የምትወድህ ይኸውልህ ጴንጤ ሆነው እዩ ሲባል ያማቸዋል እሷ ደግሞ ሳታውቅ ያንተን ፎቶ ትለጥፋለች እንዴ
አሁን እኛ እዚህ ቤት መተን
ሲያስጠላ ዝም በል እስካውጣልህ ዝም በል ስገባ ተቃጠልኩኝ አልቻልኩም አብሮኝ የነበሩት እንኳን ካዱኝ የዘር ማርዘር መርገምት የዘፋኝነት መንፈስ ስዘምር ድምጿን ይዤ ልባን አፍኜ ልክ ለዘፈን አፋን ስከፍት ቅላጼውን አሳምረዋለሁ እዚህ መድረክ ላይ አዘምር
እና ዘፋኝ እንድትሆን እንፈልግ
አትየኝ አይነስ ያስጠላ አትየኝ
ወጣቶች ላይ ምን እንድሰራ ነው የምፈልገው እሷ
ወጣቶችን እያስተማረች
ምን
ዘፈን በሶሻል ሚዲያ የማይሆኑ ነገሮችን በቃ ርኩሰትን መስፈንን አገር ልካታለሁ ከዛ ይሄንን አመት እዘምራለሁ ትላለች አፈር አባቷ ትዘምር እኔ እያለሁ አዘምራትም ሰማኛለህ አንተ ገና አይደለም ፊትህ ጫማ ያስፈራ ተለቀኳትማ የሷ ብቻ አይደለም ፌሎሺፕ የሷ ይሆናል ትምህርት ቤት ሰልፍ ላይ ስትሰለፍ አጋንንት ይወርቃል አስመስላለሁ ራሳቸውን እንደሳቱ አድርጌ ፊቷን ሲያዩ ገና እዩ አምላክ የምትለው ነገርስ አኖይንቲንግ ኦይል ከዚህ እየወሰደች እየተቀባች ፈተና ላይ ቁጭ እያለች ጎበዞቹን እያስናቀች አፈር አባቷ ትብላ መልቀቅ እኮ ለቃታለሁ ግን እሷን ስለቅ ብዙ ወጣቶች ያመልጡኛል ወጣቶችን ደግሞ እፈልጋለሁ ነው ገባህ ተኝ ደስ ወጣቶች እኔ ናቸው አልኩህ እኮ ወጣቶች በምን ነው የምትይዛቸው በቃ በሶሻል ሚዲያው በሴት ወንዶቹን ሴቶቹን ደግሞ በብልጭልጭ ነገር ይዝና ከዛ ዳንሰኛ አረጋቸዋለሁ አስጨፍራቸዋለሁ ፌመስ አድርጌ ልካቸዋለሁ ገባህ አንተ ናሆምን ምን አረኩ አንተ ስምበል ቤቱ ብያየች እኮ በዛ ተባረከች አንተ እኔ ደም አፍስሼ ወጣቶች እሱንም እኮ እኛ ነበር ያዝነው አሁን ትልቅ ደረጃ ላይ ይደርሳል እንዴ እሷን ደግሞ ብለቃት ዘማሪ ነው የምትሆነው እዚህ ቻርች ደግሞ እንድዘምር አልፈልግም
የናሆምን ስታይ ምን ተሰማ
እሱን ሳይ ተቃጠልኩ ሌሎቹም እሱን እያዩ እኛስ ለምን አንሄድም ለምስል ከምንሰግድ ምን አረገልን ይሄ ምስል እያሉ በየቻቹ ትምህርት ሊጀምሩ እኔ ያለው አፈር ይበላሉ አይጀምሯትም
3 ጊዜ ጮሄ ወደ ጥልቅ ሂድ 2 ለመጨረሻ ጊዜ
በቃ ልዘምር ነው
አዎ
ልለቅ ነው
ቻው በላት ቻው በላት
አይሆንም መድረኩም ያስፈራል እኮ
ቻው በላት ሂድ በኢየሱስ ላኳት እስኪ በዛ ትምጣ ወደዚህ ለኢየሱስ እልልታ ጩኸት ለጌታ ሃሌሉያ
ወይኔ አባት ወይኔ
ተናነሽ
በኢየሱስ ስም የት ነው እዩ በህልሜ ነው የእውነት እዩ ወይኔ ጉዴ በላ በጣም ነው የምወደው እዩዬ ማለት እኔ ተማሪ ነኝና ትምህርት ቤት አገለግል ነበረ ፌሎሺፕ ሊደር ነበርኩኝና በጣም ነው የምወደው ከሁሉም አገልጋዮች ጓደኞቼ አማኝ ናቸው ግን በጭራሽ በቃ ማለት እንዴት ነው እዩ ሲባል በጣም ግን አማኝ ናቸው የስልኬ ስክሪን ሴቨር አድርጌ እንዴት አወቅ ስክሪን ሴቨር አድርጌያለሁ እና በቃ በጣም ነው እንዴት ብዬ ልንገር ዛሬ ቀጣይ ሳምንት ልመጣ ፈተና አለ እንዳጋጣሚ ፈተና ተባልኩና ቀረሁኝ ከዛ በዚህኛው ሲመችልኝ ማታ ጨነቀኝ አመመኝ የሌለ በቃ ለእናቴ ነግሬያት ነው የመጣሁት ህልም አይቼ እዩዬ በቃ ዛሬ እኛ ነገር ይፈታል ብዬ አምኜ መጣሁ ከዘር ማንዘር የመጣ መርገም አለ በእኛ ፋሚሊና እጸልያለሁ አባቴም ይጸልያል አንተን ስለሚወድ ይከታተላሉልኝና በረከቶቻችን ሁሉ ተያዙ እንዲ አባቴ ይሰራል ከማንም በላይ ነው የሚሰራው ግን ምንም ብርጁ ላይ አይቀመጥም እና ዛሬ እኔ ቀን ነው ብዬ ነው የመጣሁት እዩዬ ዛሬ አገኘሁ በጣም ነው ደስ ያለኝ
የኔ እናት ደስ አለሽ
በኢየሱስ ስም እኔም ወደማይሆን ነገር ልገባ ነበር ማለት በሶሻል ሚዲያ በቲክቶክ ቴሌግራም እና የመሳሰሉት ነገሮች ላይ ብዙ ተፈላጊነት እያገኘው መጣው ስልህ የነሱን ስራ እንድሰራ ዘፈን ወጣቶችን መያዝ በቃ በእንደዛ አይነት ነገር ውስጥ ሊያስገባኝ ነበር ጠላት እኔ መዘመር በጣም ነው የምፈልገው ልክ ልዘምር ስል ያፍነኛል
ስብከት መዝሙር ሲለቀቅ 150 ሰው ያያል ዘፈን ሲለቀቅ 150 ሺህ ሰው ያያል
በቃ አንተን ስለምወድ ብቻ ጓደኞቼ ርቀው ሌላ ቦታ ተቀምጠው ያውቃሉ እዩ አትወይ ብሎኝ አማኝ ናቸው እና እንትን የሚለው መዝሙር አይገባኝም ወላ ይተኛል ወላጋይስ የሚልና እኛ ፋሚሊ ውስጥ ሁሌ እሱ ነው የሚከፈተው በጣም ነው የምወደው ትርጉሙ ባይገባኝም በጣም ሁሌ ሰማዋለሁና እዚህ መድረክ ላይ ቆሜ አንድ ቀን እንደማገኘው እንደምዘምር አውቅ ነበር ከምር ዛሬ እግዚአብሔር ደርሶልኛል ወጣቶችን ዛሬ ይፈታል በቃ ያምር ይፈታሉ ወጣቶች አንተ አገልግለሃል እንዳንተ እንዳገለገልከው አይደለም እዩዬ ካንተ በሰባት እጥፍ ተቀብቼ በኢየሱስ ስም ኢትዮጵያ ላይ እንነግሳለን ወጣቶች ኢትዮጵያ ላይ ይነግሳሉ እኔ አንድ ቀን አንድ ነብይ አለና እሱን ነቅፌ ሰርቼ በጣም በቃ በ100 ሺህ የሚቆጠር ቫይራል ወጥቶ ብዙ ሰው ደስ አለው ከዛ ልክ ሆላጋይስ የሚለው አለኝ ስልኬ ላይ አሁንምና በሱ መዝሙር ፖስት ሳረክ ሰደውኝ ገብተው አንቺም እንዲሆንሽ አንቺም እዩ ታያለሽ ምናምን እኔ ልንገራችሁ ያምር ፕሮፊት ትክክለኛ እግዚአብሔር ያስነሳው ነብይ ነው የእግዚአብሔር አፍ ነው እግዚአብሔር በሱ አድሮ የሚናገርበት ሰው ነው እኔ ዛሬ ለኔ አይደለም ያምር እኔ እርግጠኛ ነኝ በእኔ በኩል ብዙ ወጣቶች እንደሚፈቱ ብዙ ወጣቶች ባለፈው ለታ የናሆሜን ምስክርነት እየሰማን ነበር ምናምንና ጓደኞቼ ነበሩ ለነሱ ሳሳያቸው ይወጣሉ እየጨነቃቸው በቃ አንፈልግም ወጣቶች ተለቀቁ
ናሆም የሚባለው ያላወቃችሁ ሰዎች ባለፈው ራሱን የቆራረጠው ወጣት ነው እንደሱ ያሉ ሌሎች ነፃ እንዳይወጡ ጠላት እንዴት እንደቀና ከናሆም ሰምታችኋል ገንዘብ እንክፈልና ድራማ ነው በለ ብሎ ያሉ ሰዎች ነበሩ ድራማ እያሉ ውሸት እያሉ ሐሰት እያሉ እንሰራለን ዝም ብለን ምን ሰራው ግን ውስጥ ለውስጥ ሳይሆን ዋናው መንገድ ላይ ነው አባቶ ሆይ በኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ስም ይህንን ቅባት በላዋ ላይ ጸልያለሁ በምድርቱ ላይ ከፍ የሚያደርግ ቅባት ያግኛት የእግዚአብሔርን ሞገስ ጸልያለሁ ኃይል ጸልያለሁ ሻካ ፕራቫ yes በምድርቱ ስፋት ላይ ትሂድ yes ካባሮንታ Velazo pravania mandi. Shalavasco pravadiana mandi. Zeka praventania mandi. በጨለማው ላይ ትንገስ በጨለማው ላይ ትንገስ በጨለማው ላይ ትንገስ በኢየሱስም ትንገስ አሜን
ለጋይስ ይዘመር
አንዴ ይዘመር
አዎ
እስኪ ጨምሩለት ላየቴዝ ወልቀምስ ወራን ባዟቄት ትወተስ ኦቴ ሶላሬን ባን ወልቃ ጉጀስ በማውት ያጌታ ክልስ አልዋራ ኤክዲ ፓልስ ትዋኤቴዝ ወልቀምስ ወራን ባዟቄት ትወተስ ኦቴ ሶላሬን ባን ወልቃ ጉጀስ በማውት ያጌታ ክልስ አልዋራ ኤክዲ ፓልስ ጩኸት ያለው ሰው አለ። ሆላ ጋይሶላ ሆላ ጋይሶላ ላ ሆላ ጋይሶላ ሆላ ጋይሶላ
ማገልገል ፈልጋለሁ።
እዚሁ
አዎ እዚሁ
ተባረኪ። አባትሽን ደግሞ ወድሃለሁ ሰላም ይብዛል ብሎሃል።
እሱ ራሱ በጣም ነው የሚወድ ሰው እንዴት ስፖርት የምሬን ነው ስፖርት እንሰራለን አሰልጣኝ ነበርና ስፖርት ሲሰራ ያንተን መዝሙር ከፍቶ እያመለካችሁም እየሰራችሁም ይላል። በጣም ነው የሚወድ። ደግሞ ዘና በሉ የምትለው ነገር አለና ችግር አለ ዘና በሉ ዘና ይላል። በቃ በጣም ነው የሚወድ።
አሰልጣኝ ነው።
አዎ ነበረ እንሰራለን። አሁንም እኛን ነው የሚያሰራንና አዎ ሁሌ ያንተን ነው የሚያየው። ሁሌ በቃ ዩ ይከፈታል ያንተ ነው የሚታየው እና ከሁሉም የሚወድልህ ስትል እሱም አብሮ ይላል። ጎረቤት ይመጣል።
እግዚአብሔርን አክብሩ ባካችሁ።